Welcome to the Deep Dive, your shortcut to cultural fluency. Today, we're diving into Charleston, South Carolina. You've probably heard it called the Holy City. And our mission here is, well, to give you a real feel for Charleston's incredible mix of history, culture, architecture, and that amazing food scene everyone talks about now. I think rulers and travel and leisure readers have picked it as the top U.S. destination for 10 years running. They love the food, obviously, but also how walkable it is.
Absolutely. And what's really fascinating, I think, is digging into how Charleston became this unique place. It wasn't just chance. We're looking at this incredible story of resilience, a culture shaped by so many different threads, indigenous peoples, European traders, and fundamentally the huge impact of the African diaspora.
Totally. And if you really want to get Charleston, you kind of have to start with the food, right? So immediate. Okay, let's unpack this. Starting maybe with the stomach. The whole low country culinary story.
Sounds like a plan.
We know the baseline ingredients, things like corn, beans, squash. They were here long before Europeans, used by Native American tribes.
Right, that was the foundation. But then came a huge shift in the 17th century with the forced arrival of enslaved Africans. They didn't just bring culinary traditions, though that was important. They brought specific, crucial agricultural knowledge, especially rice cultivation.
Rice.
And managing those complex tidal irrigation systems needed for it. That wasn't just about adding a new food. Those skills literally built the economic powerhouse of early South Carolina. And from that, you get the roots of Gullah Geechee cuisine that's so celebrated today.
And the links are so clear when you look at the dishes. You see Gullah staples like red rice or okra soup, and they directly echo West African dishes like jollof rice and, okra soup. It's right there.
It is.
What I find amazing is how central the Gullah people were in actually preserving key crops, like Carolina gold rice, that fragrant, high-quality rice.
And the Sea Island red peas, too.
Exactly, making sure they didn't disappear.
And to understand the Gullah Geechee people better, you have to place them geographically. They primarily live in the coastal plain, the low country, and the Sea Islands. Part of why they maintained such strong cultural links back to Africa was that relative isolation for a long time.
Makes sense.
You see it so clearly in their language, too. It's an English-based Creole, but it shares striking similarities with Sierra Leone Creole. It really shows how heritage can be kept alive against, enormous odds.
And get this, here's a fascinating detail from the shipping records. Apparently, Angolans made up something like 39% of all enslaved Africans brought directly into Charleston.
Wow, that's a huge percentage.
Right. So some scholars think the word Gullah itself might actually trace back to the Kikongo language, or maybe just Angola generally, directly linking the name to where so many people came from.
That's a powerful connection. And that history, that culture, it's not just in the food or the language. You see Gullah traditions today in crafts and customs.
Like the sweetgrass baskets.
Exactly like the sweetgrass baskets. Those intricate coiled baskets you see being made, often right there in the city market. That's a direct skill passed down through generations.
Beautiful work.
And think about the tradition of painting porch ceilings, that specific shade of blue. Paint blue.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. It's lovely.
It is. The story usually told is that it wards off spirits or haints. But some research suggests the early paint formulas also had ingredients like lye that acted as an insect repellent.
So spiritual protection and practical pest control rolled into one.
Sort of a blend of belief and practical wisdom, yeah.
I love that. And speaking of practical, that sort of leads us nicely into the city's physical structure, doesn't it? The architecture.
It really does.
Charleston's one of the oldest cities in the U.S., and its timeline is right there in the buildings. You've got, more than half a dozen major styles?
At least. And the way they evolved is fascinating because it wasn't just about fashion. It was very much about responding to the heat and humidity of the low-country climate. You start with the simpler colonial styles from the 1600s and 1700s. Then it gets more formal with Georgian architecture. From around 1714 into the 1830s, lots of influence from classical Greece and Rome there.
Right.
But a really key Charleston feature you see everywhere is the Charleston single house.
Ah, yes. Explain that.
Okay, so they're built just one room wide with the narrow end facing the street. And crucially, they almost always have these long, multi-story porches called piazzas running down the side of the house.
To catch the breeze, right?
Exactly. Maximize shade, catch any prevailing wind. It's genius climate adaptation built right in. Then you have the federal style, a bit later, more restrained, often 2 rooms deep.
And some styles are just so dramatic. Like Gothic revival, you see that a lot in churches like the French Huguenot Church.
With those really steeply pitched roofs and that delicate almost lace-like ornamentation.
Yeah. And then the Victorian era hits, and things get, well, visually heavier, more asymmetry, ornate gables, lots of decorative ironwork.
And that heavier look is sometimes linked to Queen Victoria's long period of mourning, influencing the aesthetics of the time.
Interesting. Now, Charleston is famous for keeping all this architecture.
Oh, absolutely critical. They were way ahead of the curve. Charleston adopted the very first preservation zoning ordinance in the entire country way back in 1931.
Wow, 1931.
Yeah, and that's fundamental. It means any changes to historic buildings have to be appropriate, have to protect the original character. It's why the city looks and feels the way it does.
And it's why when you visit, you can walk around and feel like you stepped back. You see places like the old Exchange Building, that great colonial Georgian example.
A real landmark.
Or, of course, Rainbow Row, those famous Georgian houses that got that pastel makeover in the 70s. They still look right because of that preservation commitment.
Exactly. And it's not just about aesthetics, though that's huge. Study after study shows that historic preservation like this really helps maintain and often boosts property values in those areas.
So preservation is actually good business too.
It definitely can be.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting for me. Seeing how that history feeds into the present day culture. Beyond the buildings, Charleston has this really strong cultural infrastructure, right?
It does, very strong.
For art lovers, you've got like two main gallery districts. There's Gallery Row on Broad Street.
The traditional spot.
And another one in the French Quarter. And they do those First Friday art walks every month, which are really popular.
Yeah, those are great. And the museums really tell the story from all angles. You have the Charleston Museum, which calls itself America's first museum, founded way back in 1773, focuses on local, natural, and cultural history.
Okay.
Then there's the Gibbs Museum of Art. That's where you find the major collection of American art, but specifically through the lens of Charleston and the Low Country experience.
Right, connecting art to place.
Precisely.
But maybe the most vital museum now, especially given our conversation, is the International African American Museum. It just opened in January 2023, right?
Yes, a landmark opening. It's incredibly important. It doesn't just focus on the trauma of slavery, but explores the rich African cultures, the knowledge systems people brought with them, and the resilience and diverse journeys of their descendants across the Americas.
A much-needed perspective.
Absolutely essential. And then you have sites that directly confront the hardest parts of the history. The old Slave Mart Museum, believed to be the last actual slave auction site still standing in South Carolina. Visiting there is, well, it's a very sobering and necessary experience.
I can imagine.
Similarly, the Caw Interpretive Center, it's on the site of a former plantation, and it specifically highlights the impact of the African rice-growing expertise we talked about. And it's also the site of the 1739 Stono Rebellion, a major slave uprising. These places demand reflection. You can't just breeze past them.
No, absolutely not. It sounds like it covers a huge spectrum. And then balancing that intensity, you also have sites like Patriots Point, right? With the USS Yorktown.
Yeah, the Naval and Maritime Museum, home to that huge World War II aircraft carrier. So military history is represented too. It's a complex tapestry.